Right at the beginning of this video, there's something I want you to remember. The English have rights, the British have rules. What do I mean by that? The English have what you would call inalienable rights. These are rights that cannot be taken away from you. And they're laid out in our constitution. You know, that constitution that we're so often reminded we don't actually have when it's listed. It's there, it's live, and it contains everything you need to know. Well, over the years, of course, the British Parliament has invented rule after rule after rule after rule, and what they end up doing as a result is conflating their rules with our rights. And the net result is none of us actually know where we stand anymore, or we've had rights taken away from us illegally in a lot of cases. Well, one of the most important ones is our right to bear arms. Now, where this is applicable in the modern day setting is really places like farmers and anybody that deals with wild stock or anything like that. Now, these rights have been slowly eroded over the years, where we've had the introduction of other rules such as the Firearms Act and other bits and pieces of that nature, which have come about as a result of atrocities, I suppose you could call it, committed against the English, the Scottish, the Welsh, the Northern Irish. And we end up in a position where we can't defend ourselves. Funny that, isn't it? I'm going to show you something at the end of this video, but for now, I want to show you this tweet where Rupert Lowe's basically turned around to Parliament and said, I'm having none of it. And he said in here, fighting in Parliament against yet another urban metropolitan attack on rural Britain. Restore Britain will defend responsible British gun owners and push back against even more parasitic state creep. Rural Britain now has a political party to defend it. Restore Britain. Now, I need to point out at this stage, before I do this video, the right to bear arms came from the English Bill of Rights. There's nothing Britain about it, nothing British about it. It was the English Bill of Rights, which naturally, by that common law jurisdiction, covered everybody. And it's politicians, and unfortunately Rupert Lowe is one of them, that either realizes that and isn't going near it, or just doesn't know it. They need to be advised by the right people if they're going to make a change that's meaningful. Anyway, let's have a listen to this because it's quite worthy, and we'll see where it goes.
I am entirely opposed to this latest urban metropolitan attack on rural Britain. Merging licenses would create yet more delays, more cost, more bureaucracy. Responsible gun owners are not the enemy. Let us be absolutely clear who we're talking about. We're talking about farmers, gamekeepers, sportsmen and women, and rural families. People who follow the law to the letter. People who store their firearms safely. People who undergo background checks, police scrutiny, and ongoing oversight. These are not criminals. They are among the most law-abiding people in Britain. Keeping Section 1 and 2 licensing separate recognizes an important distinction in both law and practice. These systems have existed for decades, and they work. They provide proper oversight while allowing legitimate, responsible ownership. Merging them would not target criminals because criminals, by definition, do not apply for licenses. They do not fill out forms. They do not submit to background checks. They do not follow the law. They do what they want. They do not care about what we say in this place. I will give way.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, and I appreciate the point he's making. But does he accept that there are instances where firearms have been lawfully obtained by people without a previous criminal record, and yet where they commit harm, particularly to themselves or someone very close to them?
Thank you, Chairman. Of course, some incidents have happened, but then incidents have happened with baseball bats, and instances have happened with other instruments which have not been banned and will not be banned. So you make a valid point, but I think it's one which needs to be looked at very carefully, because I think there are less instances than you might think. Merging licenses would create more bureaucracy, as I've said, more delay, more cost, and more pressure on police licensing units that are already struggling to process applications on time while they prioritize prosecuting people for social media posts. Trust me, I understand this more than most. I had my gun seized in a late-night armed police raid following the Reform Party's false allegations about me. It took me months to get them back, months, a process based on subjectivity, which is dangerous. Despite Reform's best efforts, I remain both a shotgun and a firearm license holder and a gun owner. Further delays would have real consequences for rural livelihoods and for a long and respected British tradition that contributes to conservation, employment, and the rural economy. Public safety is not improved by targeting those who already comply fully with the law. It is improved by focusing on illegal weapons, organized crime, and those who present genuine risk. Responsible firearm owners are not the problem. They are citizens who follow the rules, respect the law, and deserve to be treated accordingly. We should not burden them with unnecessary bureaucracy that achieves nothing except to make their lives harder. I urge the government to rethink these plans and start finally treating responsible gun owners with some respect. Further gratuitous conflict between the urban and countryside communities is an undesirable development when there is no justification to puerile legislation which is based on ideology, not common sense. Criminality with legally registered shotguns and firearms is not the issue. A malign civil service agenda is. Thank you. I am entirely...
You know, some of the things he spoke about, you know, we get the issue in America as well, where quite often it's the firearm that's held responsible for the actions of the person holding it. They are readily available. You can probably get hold of one a lot easier than you really should be able to, given the law of the land right now. And there is this debate that goes on forevermore. The lady in the chamber there raised that very point. There are people that do obtain them, albeit legally, and bad things happen. But at the end of the day, why is that? Maybe the reason for that needs to be determined. But at every turn, there is, or there does seem to be a movement to prevent us in these lands from having these things. And the Second Amendment in the United States of America, the right to bear arms, is there for a very specific reason: to protect themselves against a government that's gone rogue. Basically, that's the long and short of it. And where do you think that Second Amendment come from? The English Constitution, which we, the English, lost the right to because of the aforementioned rules that the British state come up with. And as you heard Rupert Lowe state there with the stitch-up job from Reform, it took him months to get his guns back because of all of the red tape and everything else. Now, I talk about the English Bill of Rights. Now, have a look here. This is where it all comes from. The Bill of Rights, 1689, also referred to as 1688, established that Protestants could bear arms for their defence, suitable to their conditions and as allowed by law. This provision was a reaction against King James II, a Catholic disarmament of Protestants, and allowed Parliament to regulate arms, serving as a precursor to the US Second Amendment. Passed following the Glorious Revolution to limit the power of the Crown and secure rights for Parliament. The right was not universal. It was restricted to Protestant citizens and limited to by what was allowed by law. Now the thing, what was allowed by law, is so often confused. What it basically means is, if I have it, I can't go out and deliberately nut you off with it. You know, it's for my defense as allowed by law. That's, you know, that's what that meant. That's so often confused. It was intended for personal defense, as well as to prevent the king from maintaining a standing army without Parliament's consent. With historically significant as 17th century right, modern UK law has significantly restricted firearm ownership. There you go. So the British state has significantly restricted it. It's important to note that the Act is often referred to as the Bill of Rights, but was officially enacted in 1689. So that's the history of it. And there's Rupert Lowe doing his best to defend it. But what they do is layer upon layer upon layer of extra regulation, completely unnecessary, and dilutes what our inalienable rights really are. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share my stuff. I'll talk to you soon. Toodaloo.